several years ago, I think it was in the early 90s, I found myself hearing a similar story from a lot of our clients about the way their organizations were working. And the commonality of the message that I kept hearing was that it seems like just a few people in the organization were doing all the work, and yet everybody wanted, you know, a paycheck, and they wanted a piece of the action. And something clicked in my head, and I remembered this childhood fable that my parents used to read to me, and it was the Little Red Hen. And in that story of the Little Red Hen, she finds some seeds and wants to plant them and harvest and, you know, mill the flour and then bake the bread. Well, along the way she asked different characters on the farm to help her, and they all said no. And at the end of the day, when she and her chicks made the bread, everybody said they wanted some of it. So there was kind of this similar theme that kept going through my head. And I started writing down a few things about those conversations and my memory of the animals on the farm. And as I did, this whole idea of writing a little short story came to me, and I thought, okay, let's give it a shot. So I did, and the theme in the book is finding out why these guys and gals in the story said no. I mean, the moral of the story was that if you don't work, you shouldn't get some of the reward. So I went and interviewed these individual animals. There was a dog and a cat and a horse and a duck. And each of them at different points in the story were asked to help, and they didn't. So I thought, okay, well, let's find out why not. And for example, when I went and interviewed the dog, I said, you know, Little Red came up to you and she said, hey, can you help me plant this seed? And, or can you help me plant these seeds? And according to Little Red, you said, no, not I. And the dog kind of pondered for a moment and then said, you know, I remember that day. I was asleep in the field. She woke me from a dead sleep, and she said, come on, we need to plant these seeds. And I said, I can't do it right now. And the reason I said I can't do it right now is because I had been up all night chasing the fox in our area that was trying to get into Little Red's hen house and kill her. So I was exhausted from that. I was doing my job. My job is to guard this farm, and I just needed a break. So I went and I interviewed the other, in my story I interviewed all the other animals too, and got similar things. I mean, the cat had been fighting with a rodent who was eating the wheat. So when Little Red asked to help harvest the wheat, then the cat was, you know, actually had, I think in the story, the cat's licking her paw. Well, it turns out the cat was licking her paw because it was bleeding from the bite that the rat had given her on her paw. So again, as I started weaving those things and you find out the other side of the story, the objective here is to remind people that we see the world as we are, not necessarily as it is. The book took on a life of its own, and a few more things got added. We turned it into a murder mystery, and the book now starts with Red up in heaven looking down on the barnyard, and there's a chicken in the barnyard running around with its head cut off. And we find out through this murder mystery who cut Red's head off. And I'll just give away the ending right now. It was Red. She cut her own head off. And how many of us do that? We have this tunnel vision of the way things are and the way things should be, and we get significantly stressed and out of sorts and distrusting and feelings hurt and assume things that may or may not be accurate, all because we get stuck seeing this world just through our eyes only.